Alright, what I've got to show you today is a Viking Seax made by Christopher Friis at Handforged. He's got his own YouTube channel, linked down below, and you may have seen him in some of my other videos. This one here is not mine. He just let me try it out, and it'll be available for sale on eBay. Again, the link will be down below in the more info section. So this one here is based on an original find. He worked off of a picture, so the measurements might not be exactly one-on-one, but the proportions are the same. And he actually documented the entire making process, which is really interesting. So there are several videos about this, forging and heat treatment, tempering, etc., polishing, and all of that. So really interesting to look at. So this is made out of a leaf spring, which is 5160 high carbon steel. So really tough steel, always a good choice for knives and swords and all kinds of blades. After forging, the blade was normalized by heating it and letting it air cool 3 times to improve the grain structure. Then it was quenched in oil to harden it, and finally differentially tempered so that the edge is harder than the spine. As you can see, it's also been mirror polished. Quite a lengthy process. You can see it in the videos. Lots of work involved. The handle is ash, so a very strong hardwood, which was drilled and then burned onto the tang to make it fit perfectly. And it was assembled with 2-part epoxy, which is perfectly adequate for a knife like this. The runes are the name Hymir, who is one of the giants from the Old Norse sagas. He went fishing with Thor, and when Thor ended up catching Jörmungand, Midgard serpent, he got scared and cut the fishing line, which Thor didn't approve of a whole lot, so he knocked him out with his hammer. The black right here is powdered charcoal, which was mixed with the same epoxy, just to improve the fit here and also for decoration, which looks quite nice. Same as also in the runes there to make them pop. The spacer and the bolster are made of wrought iron. Now, this was difficult to fit, as you can see in the videos. So there is a gap on either side, but it's still very tightly fitted lengthwise because eventually he just heated them up and hammered them onto the blade and the tang respectively. So this is very tightly fitted in that direction. So this should not come loose under any circumstances, really. As you can see, the blade tapers a little in width towards the point, and it's also got a distal taper. In fact, it goes from 7 millimeters close to the handle to 6 millimeters about 3/4 of the way, and then down to a little over 2 millimeters near the point. Having seen the forging process gives you a better idea of how difficult it is to get it straight. Also considering that with tempering there's always some degree of warpage, but this is really very straight, quite remarkably so. If you just cut a piece out of the material, it's not difficult, of course, to keep that straight, but with the hand forging, that adds an entirely different challenge. So he did a very good job of making it nice and straight and even. So obviously this is quite a large knife, and it's also got a very long handle, so you can choke down pretty far to get additional leverage and power. And with this kind of grip, it's fairly easy to cut tatami mats, as you can see right here. It's of course more challenging than with a full-sized sword, but it works just fine, and the edge is very good. Here you can get a better look at the grind. There's one thing that bothers me a little bit about it, namely the handle is very smooth and it slightly tapers towards the end here. So that means that when I choke down for the extra power when cutting tatami mats, for example, it feels like I have to be extra careful to make sure that this doesn't slip and fly out of my hand. Now, if you hold it here, not a problem. Particularly, you can put a thumb up on the bolster here and really make sure that this doesn't go anywhere. And this is probably the grip that I would primarily recommend if you're either working with it, or they also used the Seax as a backup fighting weapon, or a sidearm essentially. So that would be a good idea to make sure that it really does not slide out of the hand. But because you have so much handle, you kind of want to choke down to get the maximum out of it, out of each swing. And then that gets a little bit, I mean, nothing happened. I didn't actually slip, but with wet hands or even slightly slippery hands, I would not want to do that. In that case, I would definitely want to hold it here. Now, it feels good. Because it is so smooth, it's definitely quite nice in the hand, and the way it's rounded off, it's definitely comfortable, but it's a little too smooth to me. So I think what I would personally suggest would be, instead of rounding it off, giving it a sharper bevel. Now this could also be done just down here, just for choking down, because as I said, up here it's fine. For thrusting, I haven't had a chance to test that. I would have liked to test it on the ballistic gel torso, but I just didn't have time to get it done before it's supposed to be sold. The mirror polish is really nice. It makes it very pretty and shiny, and suits it quite well. The only drawback is, of course, you see every little tiny scratch on it, so you have to repolish it frequently if you want to use it and keep it that way. But it sure looks beautiful, and overall it's very nice work. Definitely impressed by how it turned out. You get more of an appreciation for it when you actually see the process and the struggles that the craftsman had to go through to make it. Of course, the most important part is that it works well, which it does. For the hard chopping, I actually had to do this on our balcony because I didn't have an opportunity to get to a suitable place in time. This worked well enough, it just made the chopping less effective because I had to hold the branch in my hand meanwhile, because I didn't want to drive it into the floor while resting it out of respect for the neighbors, the joys of living in an apartment. Either way, it held up fine, nothing loosened up. I don't know what kind of wood this is that I was using, but it was very hard. I also tried another piece which was much easier to chop into, and well, it does what it's supposed to. So this would be suitable as a bushcraft tool, to prepare a camp for the night and things like that. And the edge has held up very well. I haven't had to resharpen it, and still works just fine. And the edge still looks flawless, no damage, no wear or anything. I also tested the strength of the tip a little bit, and again, fine, no damage to it. I mean, no surprise there, right? 5160 is known for being tough steel. And it handles nicely. It's a lot of blade for a knife. It's got some good heft to it, and particularly when you're choking down, you can strike pretty hard with it. So really neat. I quite like it. So as said, if you're interested in buying this one, it'll be available on eBay, and you can find the link in the more info section. So again, thanks to Christopher Friis for letting me try this out, and for trusting me with it despite my reputation for being rough with blades. So either way, I hope you found it interesting, and thanks for watching. 1 bar left on the battery indicator. Screw it, I'll live dangerous today.
Once in a while I'm like a giant, defiant king of the world.
Okay, fine. I'll have to exchange the battery after all.